What's up, folks? What's going on? Today, we're going to hit y'all with a little bit of good old-fashioned physical versus digital talk. I know a lot of you folks out there probably don't care, but us being a little bit older generation, it's kind of hitting us a little bit different these days, where a lot of the discs we're buying have no content on them, nor the cartridges from like Nintendo. A lot of them are just having download only on them, and only thing that's on the disc really is the install stuff. Now, I know Brian, he was way bigger about digital up until a few months ago. And what was the big pivotal thing with you that kind of swayed you back over to physical?
I just started collecting again and noticed that, so during the pandemic, I got the new Xbox instead of the PlayStation. I got Game Pass. Everything was fine. I wasn't really super collecting. And then for a long time, nobody could go anywhere.
Right.
I wasn't buying online anything other than music equipment. And Game Pass was easy. It was fun. I could explore new games, check out things I didn't know about or would have never known about, and could play all these games for $15 or $14 a month. But I started collecting again and wanting stuff. I don't know, man. I've always collected vinyl and CDs and cassettes, and the physical part of it's still there for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same way it is with me, because I mean, like, I'm not so much into the music side of it like you are with the pedals and stuff, but for me, it's just growing up always buying CDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, well, you didn't have the options of streaming, so if you wanted the media, you had to buy it physically.
Yeah, and that's cool for collecting. I mean, what else do people? You can't get guitars and pedals and amps digitally.
Right.
Like, I mean, you can, but that's not collecting. And
right.
So for collectors, yeah, we want the physical copies, VHS. I mean,
folks are all into that now. Now that for me is I'm not getting into the VHS because I want my stuff to look pristine. I want it to look good.
Right.
I mod these old consoles so I can get the best out of them. And a lot of people say that modding them is not what they were designed for with those visuals, and I would argue yes they are, because I'm not actually changing the texture packs, and I'm bringing the most out of the system to showcase how the game was originally designed. But that's a whole other tangent. But me and him, we've talked about this subject quite a bit, because I do get the digital aspect of it from a convenience standpoint and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, super convenient.
Yeah, if you look at what's happening with retailers and stuff out there, I mean, me and him was talking about that. You're having stores remove a lot of games from them. And didn't you say there was a date where they're looking at doing it?
Yeah, the first quarter of 2024, which means by April, and this is only movies right now, but by April 2024, Best Buy and I get it mixed up now, but I know definitely Best Buy will no longer have any physical movies whatsoever. Blu-ray, DVD, it doesn't matter. They're just gone.
And see, that's nuts to me. And I know, like, a lot of people might be thinking we're just like old farts and we want our disc and all that. I'm looking at it honestly through a digital rights management system.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a digital game and you've got that digital game, and especially like the younger generation, they don't really care about that physical part. Well, look at us when we started playing these games that we're collecting now. We didn't think about this, but there's nowhere left for us to go get some of these games we're collecting unless we're buying them physical. There's not a marketplace that's got some of these games I have. Like, as far as I know, I can't go in the PlayStation Store and play Vandal Hearts, or maybe I can play Islander, but I know I can't play everything that I can go buy on physical. At some point, when the stores are shut down, like we're seeing happening with the PS3 and the DS and stuff like that, when that game that has to be authenticated online, when it reaches out to authenticate and there's not a server for it to communicate with, how are you going to play that game?
You've wasted your money too. It's like that money's gone. You can't play that game anymore.
Exactly. And if the server's not there to have backed up the games you've bought and your hard drive has went corrupt and such, how do you re-get those games? Now, I know there's a lot of people out there probably thinking, well, I'm done with that game. I don't want to play it again. Well, you may think that now, because I thought the same thing about like Final Fantasy VII. I played it, I beat it. Why would I want to do that again back in the early 90s? Well, I can't wait to do that again now, because I'm seeing it was an awesome experience, and not a lot of games nowadays can recreate that experience, so I want to do it again.
Yeah, that replayability factor comes in, and like I still play Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, and I always will.
Right.
The F-Zero, original F-Zero, I'll always play that on the Super Nintendo and 64. Like I'll always want to play those games. The replayability factor. There's some of this stuff, it's like we're going to spend the money on the games and it's digital, and we're never going to get, at some point, we're never going to get to play it again. When I can always throw in a VHS of Friday the 13th, play it, watch it, have a good time, go to bed. It's there when I want to watch it again.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, even what we've seen going on with Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft obviously is getting out of the hardware market. They've teamed up, I believe it's with Samsung or T6. It's Samsung or one of the TV manufacturers. They've teamed up with to have the Game Pass app built into the TVs now when the TVs release. Phil Spencer has even talked about not really looking at console wars in the future, but they're slowly going to get away from them. That, to me, I think is a lot of just posturing on Xbox's side, because no matter what they've done over the years, they've always kind of been third.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they see that it's not really, hardware is not really their thing. Even though they do have good systems, I ain't trying to start a console war conversation here. I'm just saying they see an opportunity to turn Microsoft into a Netflix type thing for games.
Yeah, and I see them like third, but I see them, I was having this conversation last night with my wife, I see them as a complete different entity.
Yeah, it's like they're not a gaming company, they're more of a media company to me.
Yeah.
You know?
And Xbox is great. I have the Series X, I love it. I have the PS5, I love it too. But like the pivotal moment for me was like, okay, now I'm really getting into the games. I've done my exploring throughout the pandemic lockdown. I've done my exploring. I see what new games, because the last system I had was a 360 until I got the Series X and PS5. I didn't have anything in between. I still had a Super Nintendo, PS1, and one of the Ken Hank emulations,
right,
emulators. Man, I've been through all this stuff. I've explored. I know what I like again, and new stuff that I like, because I experienced it digitally. But at some point, you know, when they're raising prices, you're like, I'm only playing this amount of games. I don't have enough time in a day to play all of those 24/7, play all of those games every single day. I kind of get stuck on one or two games and kind of play them at the same time. And I don't know, man, after a while you're like, wow, I'm spending that much money a year to play minimal amount of games. It's not worth it at some point. And that's fine for some people. It's very convenient for some people. My guitarist in my band, he's pretty much digital only. He sold me his N64. He's still got a PS4 and still doing the subscription, and it works for him. That's cool. But at some point it's like, man, they're kind of tearing your mouth out with the prices and digging your pockets dry, man.
Yeah, because if you look at what they're essentially streaming services is what all these game consoles are offering now. Through Nintendo has their service, Sony has their service, Microsoft of course has theirs. Everybody is really chasing Game Pass because Microsoft has really figured out this subscription thing with video games. But if you look at all of them, they have all continuously went up in price. Yeah. PlayStation has tried their thing. They have all these tiers, but they don't focus on retro that much. And the games they do offer are mainly in their upper tiers, and not as far as the games go. They're more PS4, PS5, stuff like that, and not as much PS1, PS2, and all that stuff. So it really isn't worth the money. Nintendo, if you're big on nostalgia and stuff, they probably get the best bang for your buck going back and playing all the early Nintendo games. But the thing about it is, Nintendo has offered this service on every console they've had ever since probably past the GameCube. So from the Wii up, they've always had an online marketplace to play these retro games. So it's really nothing new on the Nintendo platform.
And I'll say this, PS5 coming out, and we thought we were getting a lot more 1, 2, and 3 games. Right. You know, PS1, 2, and 3 games, and it's really not this situation. And
yeah, I mean, I have no interest in it because of that.
Yeah. And I mean, Game Pass is great. If I had to choose one, maybe Game Pass is better. I kind of favor the PS5 more than the Xbox, but Game Pass is really awesome. They, like you said, they have figured it out. But PlayStation just raised the prices again.
Right.
Like you said on Nintendo. What did I pay for a whole year? $20.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap.
I think I did the 30, the family plan, so me and my wife are both on there and can play.
Right.
And $30 for a year, like I'm in.
Yeah. But even that did go up a little bit.
Yeah. And I honestly don't play the NES, SNES, and Game Boy games on there as much as I play F-Zero 99 and all the newer stuff and some of the last generation stuff, the Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe and Mario Wonder and all this other new stuff. I play that way more than I do the other stuff, and I find myself playing those NES and SNES games on the actual consoles more. But at the same time, it's there. You want to take it with you. It's handheld. That's perfect. PlayStation and Xbox they don't have handhelds. I mean, the actual console. I mean, the way Nintendo is set up, I think it's kind of perfect because you can't take it with you.
Yeah. That is the one thing Nintendo does have a leg up on, definitely.
And it's cheap. Cheaper.
Yeah, it's way cheaper than its competitors, and in a lot of senses, they put out a better product.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I mean, I know this video's kind of been all over the place, and we've talked about a lot of things.
The subject is all over the place.
Yeah, and we don't do many of these type vids, but this has been something that's kind of been eating at us a little bit, because for me, it really hit home when they bought Bethesda, Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Bethesda fan, and that ticked me off Starfield when they bought it and it was exclusively on the Xbox. I had planned on some point buying a Series X, but when they did that and limited that system to that digital only, now I'm just going to spite myself. I'll probably never play that game because I'm not going to sign up for the online stuff to play that one game. Because if it's a 60-hour game, being married and having children and having a real job and all, it's going to take me 100 to play it and to beat it. So I'm not paying that money just to play that one stinking game on there. That's one thing that does aggravate me about the subscription thing. If I could just buy Starfield and I could play it, I would probably buy a Series X if it was physical. It's the same thing what Remedy's done with Alan Wake 2. Now, I know Remedy is more testing the waters to see if the interest is still there for Alan Wake. And I get it. And they said depending on sales, they would release it on physical.
See, I didn't see that part. And I was like hot. I got mad.
But I know good and well that there's no way that if that game does that well digitally, someone like Limited Run is not going to pick it up to put it on physical.
Yeah.
It'll end up on physical one way or another.
Somehow somebody will pick it up.
Yeah. And really, to surmise all this, our main problem with digital is the prices keep going up. The content isn't there a lot of times. The games they offer aren't games that you usually want to play with these services. And then on top of that, the digital rights management aspect of it all. At some point, you're going to have these games and you're not going to be able to play them anymore if you purchase the games through the store. When it reaches out to re-authenticate with that system server and it can't, you're not going to have those anymore. And when your hard drive fails, which it will at some point, you're out of luck. Whereas on my systems, having physical, if my hard drive craps out, I may just lose save data. But I've still got my game because I got the disc. And I do. When I buy a game and I'm looking at it, if I see I have to download most of it, I don't buy it. That's just how I am. If I cannot buy a game and it all be on that disc, I'm not talking about patches, I'm not talking about updates, just the root game itself, I will not buy it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that you get the disc, the game's not actually on there.
No, Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch, there's no game on there.
You got some installation or whatever that's on the actual disc.
Right.
It's
all jacked up.
It's bizarre. I understand and appreciate technology, but man, that seems like a little much that you can only get it this way. Like, I can watch a movie on Netflix and I can also go buy the Blu-ray or the whatever, but we're looking at the future basically, because if Best Buy is already going to remove physical movies and Blu-rays, and man, what's next? And the digital thing, it's I don't hate digital. I hate that you can't get a physical copy also.
That's my biggest qualm with it. It's not that I just surely hate digital. It's just with a lot of digital, like he just said, I don't have another option. And that irks me. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be thinking, well, you got Steam. You got the Steam Deck. You've got PC. The PC world has been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's nothing new to them.
Yeah.
PC is a totally other beast. The way Steam is set up, going through your computer or going through the Steam Deck or whatever, it's perfect. Valve figured that out, okay? That's a whole other ecosystem that works great for them. And the thing about Steam is that you can't really use that as an argument. They'll take a new game, run it for 6 months at full price, and then the thing will be $10 after that.
Yeah, that's another thing. $60 to $90 games, and you can't even hold it.
Right.
Man, I'm of the opinion that if a physical copy of a brand new game is going to be anywhere from $69 to $99 or $89, which is already a lot of money.
Yeah.
For one game, why can't the digital versions? Because it's not like, why can't they just be half that price, 3/4 of that price, 15% less, something, just something, because you can't hold it. It's not. It's somewhere in the ecosystem up in the clouds, but you can't hold that thing you just bought. When I buy a guitar, I've got it. When I buy a pedal, I've got it. I buy a gallon of milk, I've got it. It's mine until it's gone.
Right. It's
strange. Yeah, and it's strange. It's strange. I know we grew up with the early consoles and where there was no digital, and I don't hate what it's morphed into, but I feel like giving the option of digital only, or is that your only option, like Alan Wake 2, like that's, I don't know, man, it's not cool, because some of us still like to collect, some of us still like to have what we bought and hold it in our hands.
Yeah. That's just the way I am. I paid that much money for the item. I want the item. I don't want the thought of having the item. Yeah. You know.
And I did that for a minute, and then realized, like, with the Game Pass, like, man, I'm just not there. I'm not there.
Yeah.
It's too much money. I don't actually have the thing. It's just a whole weird thing to me, and I get it, but it's a little strange. Like I said earlier, looking at the future, like where's this gonna go? Like, what's gonna happen is, if it's movies now, we've seen this happen with music, like the whole downloading and Napster and LimeWire and all this. But on the flip side of that, vinyl never went anywhere. It might have slowed down,
right?
But vinyl's never stopped.
Well, the one thing that I fear from this, and like what you're saying about music, that's a perfect example, because now artists don't make crap off of Spotify.
Right.
Okay, that's where most people get their money, is from Spotify, or put their albums out on Spotify, and they get very little revenue back from that.
Amen.
What's going to happen with developers when their stuff keeps going up on Xbox? Excuse me. And stuff like that. Are we going to see the developers get a less and less and less cut of their game because they're saving so much on manufacturing costs? Now, if that happens and you're having to go through that as a developer, how much time and effort are you going to put into that product to make it the best that it can be if your money is being diminished more and more and more? Which
means if the money's being diminished, that means layoffs within the developing company,
right?
And then it just seems like it's all downhill.
Yeah. You're always going to have your big companies that survive, your Santa Monica Studios, your Activisions, your Blizzard, your Bethesdas, all that. But if you really look at your diamonds that come out, it's from littler companies like Remedy. It's from these smaller developers and stuff. You get these little gems, Yes, I know Insomniac and Sucker Punch are part of bigger groups and stuff like that, but it's those little groups of talent that produce those awesome games, And if those only become digital at some point, and that's the only way you can get them, in my opinion, that will kill a little company like that, because they're going to make less and less and less off their product. It already costs them an arm and a leg to put this crap out on physical. Yeah. So it's even going to get worse, in my opinion, if they're having to pay the entities hosting their games more and more money to hold their games, to take up storage on their database, and all that crap to offer this game. Anyway.
And I don't know. I appreciate it. I'm a fan of technology. It's all good and fine.
Right,
but
right.
at the end of the day, I think we should still be able to have options. And, what is it, like Target and Walmart are still going to carry, or Walmart. I think it's Target and Walmart, or maybe it's Best Buy and Target that are doing away with. But I think at Walmart, you're still going to be able to buy Blu-rays and physical movies and all that.
Well, I mean, Walmart has deals with like Taylor Swift and different people like that for exclusive content, which I think Taylor Swift's actually Target or something. But anyway, they have deals with different artists to have exclusive, items, tied in with the album release and all that junk. But with video games, it don't work that way.
Yeah, it's a different entity.
There's no reason for them to carry video games other than just a general service to us.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of some positives about this.
There ain't none.
There's
updates for your game.
Yeah. I thought of one. My biggest one is, okay, our mom and pop shops that we all love to go to, find our games, old or new. Those may still last and be around longer.
Oh yeah, those aren't going anywhere.
And maybe do better, because you're not gonna once that thing hits like Best Buy, no more physical movies. Well, at some point we got to think that it's going to be no more physical games, so on and so forth. But to me, it's like, well, okay, our mom and pop places, we like to hang out and browse through and talk to the owners, and those aren't going to go anywhere, and that's cool. We still got that, and maybe they flourish a little better. I don't know.
Well, you're always going to have the last generation that's going to come with collectible.
Yeah.
Like what we're seeing with the PS3 climbing in price. By the time Nintendo will be the last one to quit making physical.
Yeah, I feel like.
So there'll always be systems to collect for a long time. And the little mom and pop shops and all that will always thrive and stuff like that, as long as they're carrying the good with the bad, But at the end of the day, it's not the end of days for video games. This is a longer video than we normally always do. But this is something we want to get off our chest. I know 90% of you have already clicked off anyway, other than my parents, and I appreciate y'all.
And it's a video that a lot of content creators are making right now, because it's something that needs to be talked about and discussed. And tell us your opinion in the comments. I mean, we're not talking down about digital. It's just the idea of there only being digital.
Right.
Let us keep our options.
Yeah, and I do applaud Sony for the new Slim giving me the option to add a disc.
Yeah.
That's great. You can take away the disc all you want to, but give me an option to have it.
Yeah, and like showing the next Xbox Series being the digital only, the little cylinder looking
like a
thing.
streaming box.
Yeah, and it's like, man, it's almost weird to me. I get it. Technology, I get it. We're moving forward, but it still seems weird that like you don't have an option on that one.
Yeah.
And I get it. You got the disc and digital versions of PlayStation and Xbox. That's fine. That's cool. It's cheaper, especially if you're a PlayStation guy or girl and you only want these exclusives over here on Xbox.
Right.
Cool. Get you a Series S or whatever the new one's going to be called, and get your Forza and Halo and be happy, and Starfield now. But like, still, that doesn't seem like enough to justify getting a whole other console, just 2 or 3 games.
Right.
But we could go on about this for another hour probably.
But just think, we're not judging you if you're a digital guy.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of you are fixed incomes, all that. You can't keep up with buying new games. I mean, I get it. I totally get it.
And you're just a fan of playing. You're not a collector.
I get it totally. It's just the only thing, like I've said, and we're going to end it with this, is me and him are just simply saying, give us the option to get that unit on physical. That's all. That's all it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Give us an option.
And let us know in the comments what your thoughts and opinions are on it. We're not downing nothing. We just have our opinions. Let us know yours.
All right, folks. Appreciate you hanging in there if you did, even though I know you didn't. But anyway, like and subscribe if you would. Y'all have a good one. Later.